This video is brought to you by PhpStorm. As developers, we're always looking for ways to take our customers' problems and turn them into solutions. Sometimes it can take a painfully long time to deliver those solutions. We might have multiple steps involved in the release process, or only do a few releases every year, and that can really slow us down. What we need is a process that allows us to deliver changes quickly and without a lot of overhead. In this video, we'll discuss how to use continuous integration paired with continuous delivery, and maybe even mix in a little continuous deployment as well to speed up the delivery. Hello developers, and welcome to the PHP Architect channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Scott Keck-Warren, and on this channel, we discuss a wide variety of topics related to the PHP ecosystem. Make sure you subscribe so you can get our latest videos when they're published. Continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD for short, is a software engineering process that allows teams to streamline processes, improve collaboration, and deliver high-quality software at a faster pace. The CD in CI/CD can refer either to continuous delivery or continuous deployment, which are related concepts that sometimes get used interchangeably when discussing this topic. For this video, we'll use CD to refer to continuous delivery. CI/CD involves some or all of the following processes: continuous development, continuous testing, continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, and continuous monitoring. We'll talk about these more later in the video. Now, in a non-CI/CD environment, there is usually a gap between the development of the software and the deployment of that software. Sometimes those two processes are handled by two completely different teams. CI/CD removes this gap by enforcing automation in the building, testing, and deployment of our code. To do this, we'll have automated tools that will verify our code, package it for deployment, and then deploy it. CI/CD aims to increase deficit discovery, increase productivity, and provide faster release cycles. In some environments, this can mean weekly releases, and in others it can be daily or even hourly. At my day job, we release multiple times every day. Now that you've seen the benefits of CI/CD, you might be wondering how you can bring CI/CD to your team, and that could be done by creating your own CI/CD pipeline. A CI/CD pipeline is a series of steps, either manual or automated, that must be performed to deliver a new version of the software. This pipeline will enact continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment with one or more steps for each piece. The pipeline I'm about to outline is not the only possible pipeline, but it is the one that I like to suggest that PHP-based teams use to gain the most benefit from CI/CD. You'll have to determine which parts make sense for your team and which ones don't, but I highly recommend using them all. The first step in our pipeline is implementing continuous integration. Continuous integration is a process by which we make frequent merges of small changes into a main or trunk branch. This is in contrast to making just a few large changes to that main branch. The idea is that it's easier to identify defects and other software quality issues on smaller changes than on larger ones developed over an extensive period. For example, I've worked on changes that have had thousands of lines of changes and been weeks worth of work. When that change finally reached the pull request review stage, the developer in charge of the review couldn't easily review everything, so it took a long time to get everything reviewed. There were also a bunch of merge conflicts that I had to manage, and lots of bugs snuck through the process. By breaking that one large change into dozens of smaller changes of about 100 lines or less, it was easier to review and find errors. We were also less likely to run into merge conflicts, and we could more easily locate where merges cause new errors on our servers. Now, when we take this approach, a little more planning needs to be done. This is because our goal is to always have shippable software, and we can't create a form that doesn't have the backing logic, and we can't create that backing logic if we need to add a column to the database. So we need to make sure we're working in the correct order. If you have a change like this where one change builds on another, you'll need to be prepared to have multiple pull requests that build off of each other. It adds some non-trivial overhead to managing them, but the ease of the PR process should be expedited because of how quickly they can be reviewed. On our team, the workflow for this works like the following. First, we check out the main branch and then pull down any recent changes. This will make sure we have the most current version of the branch, so we will have fewer conflicts when we're finally ready to merge them in. From this branch, we'll create a new branch based on the name of whatever feature we're developing, and do our development work there. When we're all done with that section of work, we'll be pushing it to a system like GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitLab. This brings us to our next topic, which is continuous testing. Because the overarching objective of CI/CD is to deliver quality code and applications, we need to be continuously testing our code both during development, before it's integrated into the main branch, and then after every change. This can be a challenge to do manually, so we always want to use some kind of automated test to verify its correctness. This is a case where you'll want to throw everything and the kitchen sink at your code to make sure it's valid. You'll want to do dynamic testing with tools like PHP and Selenium, as well as static code analysis with tools like PhpStorm and PHP Code Sniffer. We want this to be as automated as possible, so it's best to use whatever solution your hosted Git allows. We have a video on how to set up GitHub Actions specifically about using it for automated testing, so make sure you check that out. Once all the automated tests have passed, we can then send the PR to another developer for review. Once they've approved the changes, we can move on to the next main stage of this process. More after this word from our sponsor. PhpStorm is a cutting-edge IDE tailored specifically for PHP and web developers. If you haven't used it before, or it's been a while since you last tried it, now's the perfect time to check it out. PhpStorm has recently received significant performance enhancements and has an ever-expanding feature set. Now, I'm a recent convert to PhpStorm and I love it. One of my favorite features is the ability to select a section of code and extract it into a new method without having to do any of the hard lifting. Curious if it's a right fit for you? Head to jetbrains.com/PhpStorm to learn more and try it out with a free 30-day trial. Code smarter, not harder. The next stage of the CI/CD pipeline is the continuous delivery stage. Because we spent all that upfront time testing our change, we can easily merge our change into the main branch and know that we will have code that can be deployed to our customers with less chance for serious bugs. For most teams, this just requires us to have the original developer merge the change into the main branch, but you might have a dedicated person or team for this. Once the changes have been merged, there are several options for what could happen, and it depends on how your application needs to be deployed. The first is that the deployment of the software may be initiated manually by your operations team. If your team is deploying manually, the process should be as automated as possible, and it should be possible to do from anyone's computer. I once worked on a team where one person had access to the software required to deploy our software. If he wasn't in the office for the day, we couldn't release a new version of our software. The next is that we might hold those changes until we're ready for a release. If you're writing desktop software or software that requires a lot of manual testing before it's released, this might be how your team operates. I once worked on a web application that was developed like this. We had 4 yearly releases, and there was always stress in the month before we feature locked the release, in the month that we were testing the release, and then there was usually an onslaught of new tickets after the release. It made it an incredibly stressful environment. The third option is to release the software without any additional people or delays. That's where the continuous deployment comes into the picture. When we're using continuous deployment to deploy our software, we'll automatically release a developer's changes into production so it can be usable by our customers immediately. This ensures our software updates are fast and can be reliably deployed to our production environment. Because it's a small change and not a huge bundle of them, we can see how a single change affects our code, and it reduces the stress level because there's less that can go wrong and we can quickly roll back the change. This is how I deploy my code because the automated checks give me the confidence that I didn't introduce a bug or break some existing functionality. There are a lot of software options that will help you execute continuous deployment, especially because it's so dependent on the infrastructure that you're using. It can be as low-tech as a script that can be called through a webhook that just runs the steps required to update the code, to something as complex as a solution that rolls out a new Docker image to a series of servers over a couple of hours. If you're looking for something that's low complexity, I suggest you look at our video using Deployer to deploy your PHP code. It's an excellent beginner solution for basic setups. The final concept we're going to discuss today is continuous monitoring. To ensure the health and performance of the application as a whole, we need to use continuous monitoring tools. They provide insights into metrics like response times, error rates, and resource utilization, which allows us to quickly fix errors before they become a serious problem in our application. There are lots of these tools that your team will have to pick from, but I highly recommend that you find one that will group errors, so errors that have higher frequency are brought to the top, It should also have a way to track when a release happens, so you can more easily track which release caused the problem to make it easier to locate the change that caused the error. I also like to have it so you can pipe the issues it finds into Jira or whatever issue tracking software you're using. We've been sponsored by Honeybadger in the past, and they provide an excellent solution for error handling. As a recap, continuous integration and continuous deployment is a process to quickly take ideas into production. It should be as automated as possible, and you should be able to automatically deploy your software as well. I hope you enjoyed our video. If so, make sure you subscribe, comment, share, and like, as it does help others find us. Other topics you would like to see us cover, let us know in the comments section below, or send me a message on Twitter or phpc.social @ScottKeckWarren. We would love to hear how we can help you, and it always brightens my day when I hear from a fan. This is Scott Keck-Warren for the PHP Architect channel signing off, and reminding you to keep watching, keep coding, and keep reading.